Evening, everyone. And I'm going to start with sharing something from the high performance coach, Brendan Burchard. And he talks about how we roll from one task to the next, from one situation to another. And our minds, they're either stuck in the past or they're stuck in the future, while the present just keeps slipping through our fingers. So right now, you may have a genuine interest in learning about breathwork, but your mind may be wondering about whether the fish fingers and ketchup you just gave your kids doesn't end up on the carpet. And then you might suddenly realize that you forgot to buy wraps. So now you're scheming what creative meal is going to go in their lunchbox. And suddenly you remember you haven't planned your first client session for tomorrow. So great, that's what you're going to be doing at 9 p.m. Enter the big sigh. You know, the one that's 2 parts frustration, it's 1 part irritation, and 4 parts complete overwhelm. Something like this. And in that split second, you have made the first common breathing mistake that we all make. And I'll come back to that. But in this situation, you can try to think your way to calm, you can try to talk your way there, or you can simply breathe your way there. Let me show you how. So right now, have a look. If you haven't already, close your mouths and begin breathing through your nose. All right. And I'd like you to breathe down into your belly, around 70 to 80% of your lung capacity. And I want you to imagine that there is a candle flame in front of you. And on a single breath, you are going to breathe in through your nose down into your belly, purse your lips, and you are going to blow softly and slowly and make that imaginary candle flame move and dance for as long as possible. So the objective, through pursed lips, to breathe slowly and softly and make an imaginary candle flame dance. All right. So importantly, first breath in must be through your nose. All right. So if you're ready, let's give that a go. So breathing in through the nose, down into the belly, about 80% of your lungs, slight pause, purse your lips, imagine that flame and begin to blow. Slowly and softly for as long as you can. And first breath in must be through the nose. Very good. Keep going and just continue to do 1 or 2 recovery breaths when you've finished, all through the nose. And we're going to try that one more time. And I thought just for a bit of fun, we can make it a little bit competitive. So if you want to, I did this before when Izzy was in the workshop, you could hold one hand up, just one hand up lightly for as long as you're breathing out. And when you're finished, you can drop your hand. Okay. But this time, I want you to relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. We carry so much tension in our jaw. And if you feel comfortable, feel free to close your eyes. It reduces something like 70 to 80% of the stimulation that we get comes to the mind visually, and it gives your mind just space to rest and relax. All right. So if you remember the exercise, through the nose down into the belly, purse the lips and blow softly and slowly and make that imaginary candle flame dance. All right. So one hand up. And here we go. Breathing in, down into the belly. Slight pause, purse your lips, and begin to blow. Slowly, softly, for as long as you can. Very good. I think that might have been Lisa. I think Lisa gets the gold medal in that one. Nailed it. All right. Well, excellent, all of you. I think that was nearly 20 seconds for everyone. Now, that little exercise is called Flicker Flame, and it addresses probably 4 of the common breathing mistakes we all make, which I'll go through. Now, so we'll start just quickly with a little bit of a bio about me. So I'm a wellness coach, and I believe your gut health and breathing are 2 natural, powerful ways to regulate your nervous system and promote healing. And I didn't come to breathing through yoga or mindfulness. I came through the gut. And I actually wrote a book on gut health. Gut-wise, the secret to healing that pain in the arse, which looked at hemorrhoids and constipation, a misunderstood condition that underlies so many GI issues. And I know super sexy topics, but in researching for the book, what I found was that breathing and your diaphragm, they are secret weapons to gut health and gut motility. And there is a New York journalist, award-winning journalist, his name is James Nestor, and he says it like this: you can exercise all you want, you can eat all the right foods, you can sleep 8 hours a night. If you are not breathing right, you will always be sick. So I then decided I've really got to get to the bottom of this breathing. So I trained with a world champion free diver, 4 times world champion free diver, and I'm now certified as a breathing instructor. And I coach women and men in breathing, not for relaxation, although that's a byproduct, but for nervous system regulation and for body healing. And the interesting thing is that breathing is dual action. So what does that mean? It means that in addition to calming your mind directly, what the correct breathing techniques can actually do is helps regulate that nervous system. So your nervous system and your body starts sending signals up to your brain, you're safe. And even though your brain might still be spinning with its thoughts, it hears that message and begins to believe it. So dual action through breathing. Now, a slight aside in terms of the gut health, in addition to the breathing, I also coach people on the gut health side, and beyond the expertise in hemorrhoids and constipation, what I also focus on is your gut microbiome. And just mentioning it because your human DNA is fixed, but your gut bacteria, well, that's a different story. And science has shown that it is so important in your mood, your memory, your mental health, your metabolism, and even your immune system. And the important thing is you can change it. So that's why everyone's talking about 30 plants a day. It has to do with your gut bacteria, but that's for another masterclass. So we've got about 40 minutes left for this session, and whatever discipline you coach in, whether it's meridians or hypnotherapy or movement or plant medicine, I'd like you to think of breathwork as the fastest way to bring your nervous system to a receptive state and your client's nervous system to a receptive state before your modality does its work. So it's not a replacement for what you do, it is the foundation underpinning it. Breathing is one of the most powerful, scientifically and evidence-based tools that's proven to stabilize your nervous system, but also regulate your heart rate function, and reduce inflammation, something that's so key to overall healing. So if you're ready to teach breathing, perhaps yoga or therapy or in movement, I'd simply ask this: which of the 4 common breathing mistakes are your clients making? Because I'm discovering there's always more to learn when it comes to breathing and about your physiology, and that it actually takes a lifetime to master. And practicing the basics is absolutely key. If any of you have heard of stories of Michael Jordan, possibly the world's greatest basketball player of all time, and he apparently used to practice free throws, something like over 1,000 a day, and that was in the off season, just practicing the basics. So we're going to explore breathing tonight. And I've mentioned these 4 common breathing mistakes that we all make. And what I'm going to do is walk you through my ocean approach, a framework that I developed for showing you what good breathing actually looks like and addressing those 4 common mistakes. But importantly, I'd like you to experience it. So we all breathe around 20,000 times a day, and we may as well make sure that we are doing it right. So just before we dive in, have a look, 3 quick guidelines. Number 1, as I've mentioned, even if you do teach breathing, I'd ask you to be up for learning something new. Don't be like my daughter who said to me, "What do you mean you teach people how to breathe, Dad? Don't we already know how to do that?" So I'll tell you, I am not convinced. All right. We teach children everything. We sit them down and we teach them how to tie their shoes. We teach them long division. We teach them algebra. They love that one. And even teach them the recorder, which nobody asks for. And then there's breathing. The one thing that you actually need but we're not taught anything, nothing. Just released into the world, mind the gap, and stay calm. So let's learn something new tonight about breathing. Number two, let's make this as interactive as possible. So please, I'm happy for you to unmute yourselves, interrupt me, ask me to clarify anything, and I'll try and keep one eye on the chat as well if you want to put something in there. So interact a bit. Number three, let's have a little bit of fun. So I'll be doing a few interactive exercises along the way. Hopefully some might sound a little bit strange, but I'll join you in them, jump on and give it a go. So how does that sound? And give me a thumbs up, fist pump, hit the chat. Good. And see you all. Excellent. Okay. So let's get started then with breathing mistake number one. Breathing mistake number one. Now, as I've mentioned, hark back to that big sigh that we made. Breathing mistake number one is mouth breathing. And if we look at my ocean framework, the O in ocean stands for optimum breathing. And optimum breathing means through your nose. So if you take away only one thing from this session this evening, I want it to be this: optimum breathing is through your nose. Your nose is for breathing, your mouth is for eating. And I was on a workshop which a quick-witted friend was attending. And as I said that, your nose is for breathing, your mouth is for eating. And he unmuted himself and said, and for kissing. So he's right, but he is a distraction. Right? One thing that I want to point out right from the get-go is, what do I mean when I say your nose is for breathing? Importantly, I'm talking about the inhalation. So your nose, it's key that your inhalation should always be through the nose. However, you absolutely can exhale through your mouth. Just like I showed you there with flicker flame, that long, slow exhalation, you can exhale through your mouth, but inhale through your nose. And that exhalation, that forms part of a number of the key breathing techniques that I coach, including a signature ocean breeze method. Looking quickly at your nose, a little bit about it, it is a precision instrument. And we did a seed session at Sweaty Betty a few weeks ago. And on that, in that session, Tiff and Sarah shared, and they spoke about, both of them, toxins that we are all exposed to. The number and the variety and how extensive it is, all the toxins that we get exposed to in our bodies and the impact on our bodies and our health. Well, I want you to look at it like this. When you mouth breathe, your lungs, they basically become an external organ, right? So everything that you breathe in, your lungs suddenly get exposed to, and it's very sensitive and delicate tissues in your lungs. So think about viruses, bacteria, allergens, pathogens, toxins, pollution. Your nose is actually filtering every single breath. So really important that we breathe through our nose. Now, my wife is actually a PT instructor, and if you give her a few months, she'll change your physical form. Victoria also happens to be a postural alignment expert. And if you give her a few days, sometimes even hours, she can show you exercises that can help correct your posture and ease your neck pain and your back pain. With breath work, I can literally change your physiology in seconds. So here's a fun exercises. A quick show of hands. Are there any dog lovers on the call? Yeah, good. Steph, Lisa, Alison, a few of you. Good. What I know about this is dog lovers are my best participants in this next little exercise, because what we are going to do is we are going to mimic breathing like a dog, but not a sleepy Sunday afternoon dog. We are going to breathe like a Springer Spaniel that's just chased a ball for about 17 throws. All right. So for the purpose of the exercise, we are going to breathe through the mouth. All right. And we're going to breathe fast, in and out, just for 20 seconds. All right. So I'm going to ask you to give it everything. It's going to look something like this. All right. I'm going to do it with you so you don't feel weird. And then afterwards, I'm going to ask you to quickly type out in a single word, just share, what are you feeling? You can unmute and shout out, or you can just put it in the chat. All right. So if you've got that breathing through the mouth, copy me for 20 seconds and I'll time us. Ready? Let's go. 10 more seconds. Very good. 5. Steph's already out of breath. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's it. Okay. Quickly in the chat, how are you feeling? Steph's done. Good. Exhausted. Exhausted. Any, yeah, fuzzy. Good. Any dizziness, lightheadedness? All right. Great. Heart racing, Caroline. Excellent. Right. Great. Now I get to test your recall. Remember flicker flame. Right. Immediately close the mouths and we're going to breathe through the nose down into the belly. 80% to the lungs. Slight pause. Purse your lips and breathe out. Slowly and softly for as long as you can. Purse the lips. Small aperture. You can do that one more time if you finish quickly. Slowly, softly relax your shoulders. All right. And that can be maybe only 40, 50 seconds on that round. How do you feel now? Okay. A few thumbs up. A little bit better. All right. Calm, a little bit sleepy. All right. 2 exercises under 30 seconds, an instantaneous impact on your physiology. And what you got to experience there through that little exercise, breathing like a spaniel, is both common breathing mistake number 1, breathing through the mouth, and common breathing mistake number 2, which is over breathing. Okay, we all breathe far too much. So that exercise, hopefully brilliant for noticing the impact of mouth breathing and over breathing. And the exercise also works brilliantly with children. So it breaks the tension through play, which is exactly how you can introduce them to breath work, say a nervous 10-year-old. Now, breathing mistake, the common breathing mistake number 2 is over breathing. Well, if we look at the ocean framework, C in ocean, the second letter, stands for cadence. Cadence or rhythm of breathing. Right? So are there any runners or cyclists on the call? Good. Lisa, runner or cyclist. So you'll maybe be familiar with that word cadence, rhythm. Cadence, the rhythm that your feet find, either going around the pedals or hitting the tarmac, a rhythm. Now, here's a question that sometimes surprises people. I don't know if we think about this. Have you ever thought or wondered why CPR? Why does CPR work, mouth to mouth resuscitation? Right? It's because that the air you breathe out still contains 16% oxygen. 16% oxygen. Atmospheric air that you breathe in, that is 21% oxygen. So you're breathing in air containing 21% oxygen, you're still breathing out 16% of oxygen. So you're not nearly close to depleting the oxygen in the breath that you take in. We all simply overbreathe. We're just overworking our cardiovascular systems, and we're slamming on the accelerator onto the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight mode. So maybe you're all familiar that we've effectively got 2 modes, 2 operating modes. This sympathetic, go, 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 fight or flight mode, and the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, or the feed and breed mode. And I use a brass tap analogy. I don't know if any of you have one of those old brass taps, maybe out in the garden. And you know, if you leave any of those taps in either the on position or the off position for a few months, they have this tendency to seize. They can seize on off, and you really struggle to move them. Right? And that's what I find now, and a good analogy for us. But typically, we get seized into that go, that sympathetic state. All right? That's this chronic epidemic that we're all faced with in the world at the moment, locked into the go mode. And what breathwork helps you do is to regulate the change, to move from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, regulate and shift between the 2 modes easily, and what I call autonomic flexibility. Help your autonomic nervous system get that flexibility. So I mentioned earlier that we breathe around 20,000 times a day. So what if even 10% of those breaths are wrong? That's 2,000 microdoses of stress that we're just loading onto our nervous systems daily. So what can we do? Be aware of the cadence, the rhythm of our breathing, and try and slow it down and introduce pauses. So one of the best breathing practices I know for teaching this is box breathing. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard of it, so a quick show of hands. Anyone heard of box breathing? Pretty much everyone. Good. Okay, next question. How many of you actually practice box breathing fairly regularly? Okay, Alison a little bit. Everyone else looking a little bit blank there. So we heard about it, we don't do it. So what do I like about box breathing? And we're going to give it a quick try. For those who aren't familiar with it, you breathe in the shape of a box, and the four parts to breathing, which it helps educate people on. You've got an inhalation, a pause, an exhalation, and a pause. There are four parts to breathing, and we often neglect two of those. So what I'd like you to do, we're going to do 4 rounds of box breathing, and I'm going to count you through it. What I'd like you to try and notice is the difference between the pause at the top after your inhalation and the pause at the bottom. See what you notice, see which one you prefer. All right, so we're going to breathe in 4 seconds, pause 4 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds, pause 4 seconds, 4 rounds, and I'm going to count you through. All right, so breathe through your nose, try and favor down into your belly. Here we go. All right, and in, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, and in, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, and in, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. One more, and in, 2, 3, 4. Notice the pause, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. Notice the pause, 2, 3, 4. All right. Maybe a quick show of hands. I'll do a quick poll out of interest. Who favors the pause at the top after the inhalation? Okay, 3. And then guessing we've only got 2 options. The rest of you prefer and very comfortable with the pause at the bottom. Okay, so Caroline Allison. Okay, so most people like the pause at the top. Typically, when I coach people, I found that unsurprisingly, and just something to remember, some people actually get quite anxious about the pause at the bottom after an exhalation. Right? It's something that you absolutely can work on and coach, but just something to be mindful of. So, box breathing, great exercise just to educate people on the 4 parts of breathing and to start getting familiar and play around with those pauses and comfortable. Some people at box breathing, most people can handle that rhythm and ratio. Some people, a 4-part hold is a little bit of a stretch to start with. Moving on now, breathing mistake number 3. And another quick exercise just before I explain what that is. Very easy exercise. You can all do it at the same time. I'll try and watch you. All I want you to do is I want you to think Tarzan, and I want you to take the biggest breath in you can and hold it just for 3 seconds. All right. Biggest breath in you can and hold for 3 seconds. All right. So when you're ready, I'll count you down. Biggest breath in 3, 2, 1, go. Good. And hold 3 seconds, 2, 1, and breathe out. Okay. All right. So I often do that in a workshop. And I get people, I forget to tell people what it is that I've actually noticed. I'll come back to. So let me share that with you right now. Don't know if you even saw on the call, if you're watching everyone else. For most of you, where did that breathing go? Up here. Straight up here, into the chest, shoulders up. Okay? That's chest breathing. And that's mistake number 3. Right? Chest breathing. So in addition to your diaphragm, which is your powerful breathing muscle that we all have, what happens when you chest breathe? You are using your scalene muscles, all right? You're using your intercostal muscles between each of a rib. You're using your sternocleidomastoid or SCM muscles, and you're using your upper traps. And those muscles, breathing up here, they were never designed to do that work full time, which is why you may notice that if you ever now see some of your clients, friends, or people that are big chest breathers breathing up here, you might notice that they often will say that they carry a lot of tension in their neck and shoulders because their default is breathing and using all of these muscles here and neglecting their diaphragm, right? And they're keeping their body in this low-grade state of tension. And very similarly, if you can think about people who sit at the desk, at the computer all day long in the wrong position with the keyboard far in front of them and their hands out, and what happens when you're typing like that, hands out in front, you are permanently engaging all of these neck muscles. So you wonder why you have neck issues and back issues. So similarly, for all breathers who are chest breathing, you want to avoid that. Give those neck muscles, all of those muscles here, a break and focus on belly or diaphragmatic breathing. All right. So looking at the ocean framework that maps against that common breathing mistake of chest breathing, we're now onto the E, the third letter, and that stands for engage your diaphragm. Okay, engage your diaphragm. And your diaphragm should be your primary muscle for breathing, but it is the most neglected muscle in our body. You know, when you engage that muscle properly, breathing will become efficient and will become deep and regulating. And I've yet to hear anyone who ever says, look, I'm going to the gym and I'm giving my guns a break this month, giving my thighs a break. I'm really going to work on my diaphragm, you big bad boy. We don't. We just neglect it. So in addition to breathing correctly and helping you regulate your nervous system, I'm also going to encourage you that your diaphragm also places mechanical pressure on all of your internal organs, importantly, your gut. So it's really key for gut health. So here's a very easy exercise, and some of you may have done it, but it also just helps to bring awareness to breathing. So right now you can just place one hand over your belly button, just at the bottom of the camera for me, one hand over your belly button and one hand over your chest. And breathing through your nose, focus on that bottom hand. And as you breathe in, your belly extends, get that bottom hand to move out as much as it can. So breathing in through the nose, and then a good mouth exhalation and belly button, pull your belly button to spine. So if you watch her breathing in, you see that bottom hand should move. The top hand might move slightly if you're exaggerating. And then breath in. All right. If you slow it down a bit and you practice that, eventually what you're looking for is imperceptible movement in the top hand, all the movements in that bottom hand. And simply by placing your hand over your belly button, over your belly, you draw attention there and it's easier to focus on that. So that's important because breathing is controlled by your autonomic nervous system. So just like your heart rate and also your blood pressure, you don't need to think about it. It happens automatically. However, with breathing, you have the ability to override it. You can consciously override your breathing only if you actually notice it and become aware of it. So B.J. Fogg, the Stanford scientist, he says this: you cannot change what you can't notice. What he says is awareness precedes change. Awareness precedes change, not motivation, not willpower, simply noticing. So becoming more conscious of your breathing, something that is typically driven by your autonomic nervous system. Okay. All right. We are motoring through now. So we're getting now to common breathing mistake number 4. Common breathing mistake number 4. And this is the thing that actually led to this masterclass. Because I was having a chat with Kate and saying the number of health and wellness coaches and practitioners that I've heard say, right, before we get started, let's take a deep breath in. Wrong. Right? Actually, incomplete. Right? How many of us have been on the receiving end of that? Well-meaning friends or family looking at you and saying, oh, Sarah, you're clearly stressed, or Mike, you're clearly stressed. Just take a deep breath in and relax. Right? They mean well, but that's like trying to empty a bath by turning the tap on harder. You see, and I've got something here to show. For those of you who are watching this, when it comes to breathing for calm, this is a great little pop-up book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And you know what got Charlie access to the chocolate factory? It was that, his magic golden ticket. And when it comes to breathing for calm, your exhalation is the Willy Wonka golden ticket. Right? Inhaling is effort. When you practice that Tarzan breath and you really felt it, engaging all of those muscles, it's strenuous, stressful, and it's when you exhale, that's when everything relaxes, and that's when the regulation happens. So we're not breathing for relaxation. I don't coach breathing for relaxation. That is just one of the byproducts or the side effects. What we're breathing for is nervous system regulation. And it is your exhalation that stimulates your vagus nerve, and that is the express lane to flip that switch, that nervous system switch from your sympathetic to your parasympathetic rest and digest. And the longer, the slower, and the more complete your exhalation, the more powerfully you are activating that response, that physiological response in your body. So it's an area that I find even experienced breathwork practitioners often find something new. Because in the area of exhalation, in the ocean framework, we're now on to that fourth letter, and it is A. And A in ocean stands for acoustic exhalation. Acoustic exhalation. You know the word acoustic, something that you can hear. It is the sound on the exhale. Right? And even though it was very imperceptible, even when we're doing flicker flame, if you put your finger all the way up to very tight pursed lips, you can hear that very light whistling sound. All right. Or something else that I'm going to show you, we a more pronounced effect on that acoustic exhalation. In terms of this, and when I first came across this, it was actually a technique that was taught to the American Olympic team back in the 1960s at the high altitude Mexican Games. And it was a breath coach who was actually an opera trainer, an operatic trainer, a guy by the name of Carl Stough. And he helped the athletes perform at that high altitude by focusing on their exhalation. And these are elite athletes. So here is another quick little exercise that you can try, but you can also use with clients. And most of the time, I like flicker flame, 1 or 2 rounds of that, highly effective. It's under 1 minute of breathing to reset and help them just be more present, that long, slow pursed lips exhalation. But sometimes you get clients who are stuck and they just struggle to move out of that stress state. So sometimes it helps just to push in and make the shift a little bit more obvious. So what you can do is this audible sigh, right? And basically it'll be a deep breath in through the nose, into the belly first, and then roll it all the way up into the chest. And then you're going to allow them, and you can build some tension. So you can tense those neck muscles just for 2 or 3 seconds, squeeze your fist, build up that tension, and then release the tension. All right. So that's kind of what it looks like. Let's give it a go, and you can do 2 rounds with me. So breathing in through the nose, into the belly, and then up into the chest, and build some of that tension. Squeeze your fist, 1, 2, 3, and then and relax and release that. You can even shake it off a little bit. All right. Let's try that one more again. Breathing in through the nose, filling up the lungs, up into the chest, squeeze, keep that tension, 2, 3, and release and shake it off. All right. So how did that feel? Did anyone enjoy that, or not their preference in terms of technique? It's one I would guide you, assess your clients, and get a sense for what they want. But some clients that really struggle with stress, anxiety, sometimes that is a way to get them to shift out of it. Simply going straight into relaxed breathing won't work. But be a little bit sensitive when you use that. Try it with them and suggest that with them. So let's do a quick little recap, and I'll post this. I'll drop this into the chat. The 4 common breathing mistakes. I won't do a quick round of asking everyone, but there they are, the 4 common mistakes. Number 1, mouth breathing. Number 2, over breathing. We breathe far too much. Number 3, chest breathing, breathing up here instead of activating our diaphragms and breathing down into the belly. And common mistake number 4, focusing way too much on the inhalation instead of that Willy Wonka golden ticket to activating that your vagus nerve and triggering your parasympathetic mode, and that is the exhalation. And the ocean framework that I mentioned, that is the framework for your rapid assessment and the fix of those 4 common mistakes. So the next time a client walks in or you open a session, you can just notice, are they mouth breathing? Are they over breathing, breathing far too much while they're talking typically? Can you see their shoulders and chest rising up? And can you see they're focusing on a quick inhalation? Identify the mistake and then apply the fix. And importantly, I want to guide you on this. There is no singular one right way to breathe. As long as you are avoiding those 4 common mistakes, you breathe according to the outcome that you're looking to achieve. Right? So are you breathing for calm? Are you breathing for cognitive focus? Are you breathing for healing? Are you breathing for athletic performance? Okay? You breathe according to the outcome you're looking to achieve, but you're mindful of those 4 common mistakes. Now, you don't need to be a mathematician to work out if we've done 4 common mistakes, and I talk about the ocean framework. Ocean has 5 letters. So that final letter we haven't touched on yet, N. N stands for natural pauses. Okay, not breath holds, natural pauses. Your body's built-in punctuation in breathing. And that box breathing, which we just tried, that started to show you this and introduce the idea that you've got 2 pauses that form a key part of your natural breathing cycle. And I would suggest to you that the pause at the bottom of the exhalation is something worth practicing, because in particular, it is your most powerful reset moment. Okay? But as we said, just be aware, some people get anxious with that pause after the exhalation, but it is something that you can train. Now, in addition to box breathing, which I would say a number of clients really enjoy, I think they like the symmetry and the simplicity of it, the 4-4-4 in it. I'd like to show you this evening a simpler method. Right? It doesn't get any simpler than this 1-2 breathing, 1-2 breathing, right? Or what I call calm on demand. And 1-2 is a ratio, right? And is the ratio of your inhalation to your exhalation. You double the exhalation, right? So if you breathe in for 3 seconds, double it. You breathe out for 6 seconds. If you breathe in for 4 seconds, double it. You breathe out for 8 seconds. What I've found with most clients and people, they enjoy the 4-8 ratio. But what I would like to do, let's do 4 rounds of each. So I'm going to start you on 3-6, then we'll shift to 4-8. And then let's just see what everyone's preference is. All right. So very simply, you're going to be breathing through the nose down into your belly. Stay relaxed and rhythmical. The objective isn't to breathe to 100% of your lung capacity. As the breathing goes on, you find you might be able to ease your breathing and the level that you fill your lungs, all right? But don't overthink it. Just breathe naturally and follow me in the timing as I talk you through. Okay, so starting on 4 rounds on the 3-6, and there'll be a second pause after the inhalation and the exhalation, all right? So if you're ready, breathing into the nose, down into your belly, and in, 2, 3, pause, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, and in, 2, 3, pause, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause and in, 2, 3. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause and in, 2, 3. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more and in, 2, 3. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep breathing through your nose. All right, I'm now going to swap you to 4, 8. All right, are you ready? Here we go. And in, 2, 3, 4. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pause and in, 2, 3, 4. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pause and in, 2, 3, 4. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pause and in, 2, 3, 4. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do 2 more in, 2, 3, 4. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe into the belly, 2, 3, 4. Pause and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Why don't we do show of hands again? Who favored the 3-6 count or ratio? Yeah. All right. Most of you, the 4-8. Okay. Breathing also, you can think of like gears in your car, right? So initially, like with the pausing, getting used to it, good idea. You can start with the 3-6 count, and you might find maybe it takes a little longer, 8 or 10 rounds. But as you get more relaxed, you'll find you don't need to fill your lungs as much, and suddenly that 4-8 ratio becomes a little bit easier. But again, you'll see that 4-8 really extending that exhalation and putting the switch, flipping that switch over to your parasympathetic. So it is a simple evidence-based technique, and that 1-2 breathing, again, another little exercise. I've got some Instagram videos on it there you can follow along, but a great one to simply use with your clients and explain. You've got these 4 parts to breathing, but you can see the dominant part and what we're focusing on is that exhalation, extending that exhalation. So there we have it. That is, I hope you enjoyed that. And it was a whistle-stop tour through those 4 common breathing mistakes that I hope you'll now be a lot more conscious and aware of. But I'd like you to be left with this one thought before I go. And everything I've shared with you tonight, it applies just as much to you as your clients, right? Your nervous system regulation before you meet someone directly impacts the quality of the space that you hold. And the science holds it up. So a study that was done, a study by Chapter Koch and colleagues, he found that just 2 minutes, 2 minutes of controlled breathing improved decision making. So just imagine your pattern recognition is sharper, your recall is faster, your ability to hold space under pressure is stronger. So it's not a wellness luxury, it's a professional advantage. And something that I shared also at the Sweaty Betty event in Henley that we did with Seed, hot off the press. It's one of the most recent studies I've come across, February 2026, and it was published in Nature. And it was a study into breathing techniques for postmenopausal women. And it found that diaphragmatic breathing in postmenopausal women produced significant reductions in depression and significant improvements in sexual function. Those are two obviously key aspects that women are really focused on. Reduction in depression, so improvements in mental well-being and health, and significant improvement in sexual function. So breathwork, it is not alternative medicine. It is evidence-based, and it doesn't need to compete with medical care. It simply complements it. It's a nervous system tool that most of us, including practitioners, have simply never been taught. So here's my challenge. From tonight, start noticing. Notice your clients, notice your families and your friends, and notice even your own breathing at the end of a long day. You cannot change what you cannot notice. Now, I reckon breathing is the ultimate biohack, but the important thing is you need to turn it into a habit. So if you're ready to build the habit, the 14-day Ocean Breeze Challenge is ready for you. And it's just 4 minutes a day. And it's what I've already mentioned, my signature scientifically proven Ocean Breeze technique, which has been shown to outperform mindfulness. And it includes the science, secrets from elite free divers, and a breathing practice that sticks. And I'll put a link in the chat. So that's there for you. I'm going to stay on for a while on the call. Happy to answer any questions if you have. Thank you very much for attending. And it just leaves me to say that our next Seed Masterclass is going to be hosted by Sophie Fraser with details to follow. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Vaughan. That was absolutely amazing.
Good. And we've got time to spare, Steph, to go and clean up that ketchup and fish fingers off the carpet.
Well, exactly. The child is there. Thank you so much. I'm going to jump off.
Sure. I'll stay on for a little bit. If anyone has got a question, you can shoot now or feel free to message me.
Vaughan, can I ask a question? Just it's Caroline here. Just as a point of clarification, so you're saying that 2 minutes of controlled breathing a day makes a significant difference to your cognitive functioning, is that right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so in all of the studies, the short answer is yes, Caroline. So I checked it. In that study, they literally had two groups. One cohort who just had to stop there for 2 minutes and just wait before they gave them a series of business questions. The other was given a controlled breathing technique. The results, something like 50% greater accuracy in answers from the group that had the controlled breathing. So that is significant. There was another lady in Northwest University who looked at nose breathing versus mouth breathing. And what she found was amazing improvements in memory and just a boost in cognitive function by simply breathing through your nose. So what she found was when you breathe through your nose, or put it this way, she found swapping from nose breathing to mouth breathing, it led to this disharmony, disorganization in limbic oscillatory signatory of neural information processing. Basically, it was just that your brain waves seem to find this rhythm and fall into this rhythm when you nose breathe. The minute you swap to mouth breathing, it kind of all goes out of sync. So 2 minutes you can do. Honestly, the science, Dr. Spiegel, there's a chap in Stanford, he said as little as 3 breaths. And we saw that panting, that hyperventilation we did, that was 20 seconds. Literally under 30 seconds, you can have material physiological impact on your body. However, if you're breathing for a habit, an overall impact on your nervous system, I would suggest to you, and you'll see in most of the studies, the encouragement is to start small, start on 2 minutes a day, but build up till eventually 10, 15 minutes a day, if you can do. And that over a prolonged period, you start seeing pronounced benefits and impacts over all aspects of your health. So that's where I'd encourage people to go with and where I coach people. But first, just start small and noticing and build a habit.
Yeah. And with the would it be any of those exercises that you went through with us today? Do they all come under the umbrella of controlled breathing?
Correct. So as long as I would guide everyone, as long as you're avoiding those 4 common mistakes, I'll run through various breathing techniques with people. And the most important thing is to find the one that works for you. That's the one that you're going to repeat and the one where you just feel subjectively in that I do it, I just feel more relaxed. It's easier to do, it means I'm going to do it more regularly and it has the best effect. For example, as I teach people 1-2 breathing, I show them the box breathing. Some people say the box breathing they really love. my encouragement to them is to start playing with those different ratios and number of things, but more importantly is to find breathing techniques that you like. But there is so much to learn. And even that study I mentioned on women's wellness, they did a different ratio technique, mixing up the ratios and playing around with the holds. But some of them, for example, I'll give you one technique. I work with a lot of people. If I work with psychologists and that, a lot of them, I've heard of the 4-7-8. Anyone heard of the 4-7-8 breathing practice? 4-7-8. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, breathe out for 8 seconds. Right. So can anyone see what I find a slight flaw in that breathing, in that breathing practice? And I'll give you a clue. Box breathing has how many parts to breathing? 4. If you're doing 4-7-8, you've got 3 parts, and arguably you're leaving out one of the key parts that you can train in, that pause after the exhalation. And there's actually been a study on that, looking at the pauses. So again, 4-7-8, not entirely wrong, but you can fine tune and improve certain breathing techniques. So I love to show people a whole lot of techniques, including my signature technique is Ocean Breeze, which incorporates a number of aspects, but works through and builds it, including looking at that acoustic exhalation, which I believe is incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Vaughan, I had a question about you. You always seem to exhale through your mouth, and I think I always exhale through my nose. Is that is there a reason why you're not exhaling through your nose?
Yeah. So one, the acoustic part.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you've got a blocked nose and you have a nice little nasal whistle, most of it will be quite quiet through the nose. But as I found with clients, I don't know how, Lisa, you found that 4-8 ratio in the 1-2. I found the minute I start stretching the exhalation through the nose, people struggle to keep up with a nice rhythmical timing. And if you think about it, the minute you swap back to the mouth, but not an open mouth with pursed lips, you're shrinking that aperture, and suddenly you're creating that back pressure in it, and suddenly it's a lot harder to exhale and it extends a lot longer. Right? It's a key technique which Steph, it was Steph that I was chatting, she jumped off the call. So she used to work with cardiovascular clients at the NHS, and I asked her, what breathing techniques they taught, because I know one of the practices that they do in the hospital is called that pursed lips breathing. And they'll use it as a technique. And what it actually does is it creates back pressure, pet pressure. And what it does is it helps the little alveoli inflate. So it actually encourages oxygen exchange. So there's a scientific or physiological impact. But Lisa, for you, basically, if you find you can do the ratio, you absolutely can breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. But when you start playing with different techniques, I encourage people breathe out through the mouth, including, you think about if we're in the gym with my wife and you're looking at training people, when you're doing squats and powerful moves, you want to be exhaling, but you want to keep some of that pressure and a tight core. It's quite tricky to keep a tight core and breathe out through the nose. A lot easier, that pursed lips, tight core, breathing out. So there's so much variation that can be introduced through breathing through the mouth. So I try and encourage people to experience and play around with that, but key, not detracting from inhalation, always through the nose.
Interesting. Thank you.
Vaughan, I've just got one question as well. I don't feel like I can get enough air in when I breathe in through my nose. Is that just going to take a bit of practice? Because I breathe in through my nose and I feel like I need more. So I also breathe in through my mouth. And so I'm just wondering if I just practice the 14-day challenge, for example, that might help breathing, taking in more air through my nose.
It absolutely will, but some of us, including my father, he struggles with his nasal passages ever since I can remember. So I would say, let's start off on the simplest things first, Alison. When I normally do a workshop, I present. Let me show you. I've got some here. It is. I should have. There it is. It is this. If we can come up on the the camera. Can you see that? It is the Rolls-Royce in essential oils.
Oh yeah, I use those as well. Yeah.
Good. So we've got one of the seed
Debbie.
practitioners. Debbie does the doTERRA. So we did the peppermint. This isn't only for winter. No. So I love the peppermint oil. Okay,
Yeah.
a friend of mine calls it his natural espresso, because after 3 o'clock, when he doesn't want to have a coffee anymore, he puts a few drops in the hand, rubs them together, smells and rubs it on the back of your neck, and you get that wonderful tingling. You absolutely know, whether it's Olbas or Vicks, you breathe that in and you immediately get the pop in your nose. So one very simple thing, we just forget about it. Don't be embarrassed. Use it throughout the year, all the stuff.
I've got an inhaler with it in. I've got peppermint in that because it helps also with like head tension and things like that.
Absolutely. Perfect. So do that before your breathing technique. I won't have time on the call, but there's actually a very specific exercise I teach for unblocking your nose, and it has to do with two key gases, carbon dioxide and nitric oxide. And gases, carbon dioxide is a badly misunderstood gas. We treat it just as a waste product, but it is actually a vasodilator. Vasodilator means it opens up your blood vessels. And so what we do when we're over breathing and hyperventilating, we're just dumping all that CO2, right? And that causes a problem. That actually causes a constriction in our nasal passages. Okay, your body tries to actually regulate the breathing. So there's a neat little technique that I can teach you. I'm trying to think if it is in the 14-day challenge, but for you, I'm happy to show you, include that as part of that. But it's something that I show that people can actually experience for themselves what it is. And you can get that sensation of opening up your nasal passages naturally that allows you to just breathe a bit easier. But also with practice, the more you breathe, just like some people are struggling on the 4-8, breathing in to 100% lung capacity because they're struggling to get that 8-second inhalation. The more you breathe and more calm and relaxed you are, the slower and easier your pace, which means less pressure to suck in quickly. It'll be more rhythmical, which will allow you to get in air slow and smoothly, even if your nasal passages feel a little bit congested, as opposed to, if you try and breathe in quickly, you really struggle.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that would be useful. Thanks. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. So there's always more to learn. I had to cut out a whole lot of what to show you, but yeah, the main thing was us as wellness practitioners, everyone, it's encouragement to incorporate breathwork in, but just know enough to be able to guide people in what is effective breathing, as opposed to just reinforcing bad habits that we all make the mistake of, especially like now. See, when I'm talking a lot, automatically mouth breathe. The first thing you can do with your clients when you say, right, I've heard what you've said, now close your mouth, start breathing through your nose. Let me share with you. The minute the mouth closes.
And just like all of a lot of the modalities, we should be teaching this in schools as well, couldn't we?
I've tried with my daughter. They're all, very quick-witted and a little bit cocky. But yeah, there's fun. Again, the trick comes into gamifying it and making it fun. But yeah, there's some wonderful variations on breathing techniques for children. The one that I'll leave you with, which is also very easy to tell people. You can even use it, the variation of the flicker flame. It's simply that encouragement. Smell the flowers, blow the candles. So any kid knows what it means to blow out all 5 or 6 or 8 of their birthday candles. Smell the flowers and blow your candles. And you can say, imagine you helping mum with all the candles on her cake. How you breathe, long and slow, as long as you can. You got to blow them all out. A neat little technique, but very similar to flicker flame.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Yeah. Happy to answer, but feel free. You don't have to stick around, but yeah, I'm available. I'm happy to just email me, or I think my mobile is on the seed site. So very happy to take any questions you have, or if you want to know anything about the 14-day challenge, highly recommended. The one that I got the other day, a lady messaged me, had completed it, and I never asked. And funny enough, she said, strange enough, her gut has been feeling better in the last 2 weeks. And then I was really fascinated and messaged back and said, oh, what do you mean? Said, I struggle with gut issues, but I seem to just notice after doing this breathing for 2 weeks, I think my gut just feels a little bit better. So yeah, so that was wonderful encouragement.